Welcome to the place where we learn about and learn from the leaders in our field who are powering human creativity. I am Aaron Dworkin, and this is Arts Engines. Thanks again for joining me here on Arts Engines. Today's guest is Talia Young, who serves as president and CEO of Newark Symphony Hall. Talia, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Always makes me smile.
Right. Absolutely. And I am so excited to have you on the show. Obviously, Newark Symphony Hall is one of our amazing partners, but is just an extraordinary anchor and presence in the community and nationally. And so I love to kind of talk about all of these things, but I thought maybe we just start off really quick, just for anyone who isn't aware, could you give the quick, just kind of overview of the type of programming impact that Newark Symphony Hall has, and maybe even as part of that, any new things or parts of the facility that have been able to reopen?
So Newark Symphony Hall is an arts institution anchoring the southern entrance of downtown Newark. In 2025, we turned 100 years old. So we've been a part of the fabric and the arts community for over almost 100 years. Newark Arts Organization, individually is the largest Black arts institution in the state of New Jersey, right? So we are encompassed not just facilitating and managing our 200,000 square facility, but we also produce programming, social impact programming as an anchor institution in our district, and then also invest in arts education locally. So with that, we have looked at this space in our community holistically, right? So we think about the programming, how our building is operated, how it impacts the local district, and then also how we become a tourist institution and bringing new people and new energy and new culture here at our institution. So it's a multitude of things, but it's extremely exciting. And I think what's on the horizon is most exciting. So the last 2 years, we were able to raise $11 million for our historical institution. To the point of Friday, we just received another $4 million from state allocation grants for our institution. And all of that goes specifically to the brick and mortar. So we have an aggressive $75 million raise altogether, but this first $16 million has gotten the engine rolling. So it's exciting to announce that 2 weeks ago, we reopened our terrace ballroom, which is a 15,000 square foot facility that has completely been restored to its nature of the culture of when it was built. So we modernized it through lights, bars, floors, a new sound system, but we kept the decor of the era. So we're excited about that. And, really it's a plan on how we take step by step, floor by floor, restoring all 200,000 square feet of the space.
All right. It's obviously just so tremendous. And of course, congratulations on all of these successes. And we have so many who tune into the show who are at their own institutions, are maybe thinking about brick and mortar and things that they really need done as they walk through. And a lot of times we're like, oh, we wish we could do this and that, and so on and so forth. And that, of course, takes these raises and these important financial resources. Is there anything you could share about as you think about that process, especially for state funding allocations, that you think are the most critically important components to be successful to raise this level of funds? Are there either approaches, principles, practices that you think help to increase the competitiveness for this type of work?
So I would definitely first step is where you are on the historic state and national registry if that you are fit into that mold. And a lot of our anchoring small organizations do. So looking at where we fit, where you fit on that makes a big importance because it allows you to advocate where you are statewide, municipality-wide for those type of funding. So every dollar we have been able to get is specifically state allocated fundings. Our registration of being historic just kind of pushes us over. So when you look at tax opportunities and it just goes grant allocation, you should definitely know where your status is. Now, when we talk about how we allocate the capital that we have, I think it's a fine line, and all arts administrators understand that, where building your organization, sustaining your organizations, and really addressing the health and welfare of your facility and the people are coming in. So what we had to do was really prioritize that. One, what was going to keep our 100-year-old building in safe, in functioning. Then where do we make our money? How do we make our money? How do we bring in the vibrancy and the volume of people that we're looking to target? And then by really prioritizing those things allowed us to focus on, okay, the terrace ballroom, the four walls, the roof, and then taking these phases step by step. But really, because when an architect or a design company comes in, they have this grand idea of let's fix this, let's do this, let's improve this, but they don't think about how an organization has to stabilize, grow, and then while they're doing it, how they invest in their human capital. So one of my big hurdles are happening right now is this, oh yeah, you got all this money. Yes, the money went to the brick and mortar. Now my fight, our struggle is how do we invest and ensure that our human capital, our staff, our team that makes all this magic work are invested into as well? Because now we have a fully operated building. How do we keep up with that? How do we maintain and make sure that we're ensuring that our talent is locally sourced, is of color, and is also getting paid market value? Right? Nonprofit does not mean to be non-paid or broke, and I don't think we should look at our artists to sacrifice that as well. So I think it's by prioritizing how you operate, how you sustainabilize your building, and then how you match that now with the human resources that are going to be able to make the building operate.
Absolutely. And that's just so, and I love your perspective and really global approach in terms of how to balance all of these aspects that are so critically important. And then, of course, what makes our buildings come alive, which is the people inside of it. Which, of course, talking about your team, which I thought was so critically important, but also a lot of people are talking about Black creators and the creative economy, and just wondering, how do you think about that, and how do you see that as a vital part of the work that you do, and kind of functionally, what do you do with that?
I think every person listening, the guests that you have in are all creatives, right? We're creatives in our own way, with our own lanes, and we're also in the field of investing in the capability of creators, and giving access to creators. So when we look at how our building and where our building is located in the city for artists, we cannot just say, okay, come in, produce your shows, teach, and not really understand their place in the economy, how that dollar circulates, how that dollar impacts them, how their funding and our access to funding impacts the ability to produce, showcase, and have their art, not just in our four walls, but in the blocks around us. So what we said, putting that one of first, but also putting the fact that we are the largest Black arts organization. How do we ensure that the conversations that we know we're having by supporting and investing in our staff, how the organizations coming in here are trying to operate, how do we push and create a larger platform for that conversation to be heard? right? Because if it's not going to be heard by the largest organization, who's going to be talking about it, right? And having sometimes these uncomfortable conversations in a safe environment that allows you to say, listen, this is my struggle, but this is my opportunity. And then matching that with somebody else in the reverse position and say, okay, now we have to work together. And then while we did that, this was all happened during the Black Creative Economy. It's a 3-day summit, which happened from June 20th to June 22nd, which is extremely exciting. We had over 400 people for the summit day. We opened the Terrace Ballroom, and then we had a comedy show and really embraced film and television on the third day. But what we did was really curated energy to speak about who and how and what makes up this economy, right? What is our impact? Now, collecting the data of that to hopefully in the next year produce a report of the Black creative economy that says, this is what it looks like. This is who's here. This is what makes it up. And then really the exciting thing was we didn't have one focus, right? You could have been a curator, a artist, a producer, film, a publicist, a writer, content creator, a nonprofit arts director, or for-profit company director, a gallery owner. And because we all make it up, right? So the gallery owner hosts the poet, that hosts the artist, that then needs to be funded by the nonprofit, and put them all in the room. And then we said, all right, access to capital is going to be a barrier. We're going to get some of the largest nonprofit arts funders in the state. Mellon, New Jersey Arts Council, Prudential, Victoria Foundation, and put them and have speed dating. So not only are we going to talk about our issues, we're going to connect you with funders right here in one roof, right? So that's the exciting thing about what we're doing here at Newark Symphony Hall. If we're going to be the home of artists, we're going to be the home of that culture that has been existing and curating this space for so long, we have to make sure that message is clear, the obstacles and the opportunity is also very clear from our perspective.
Absolutely. Well, this is extraordinary, extraordinary work. And unfortunately, we are running short on time, but I always like to ask of all my guests, this work, there's got to be some times when it is challenging and either the dollars don't come in or, staffing challenges, et cetera. And just wondering if you could share with kind of, especially those who lead teams, who are tuning in on those tough days. Where do you turn for insight, for inspiration, for solace during the toughest of times?
Every day is a challenge, right? Every single day, awakening, and that's what we really are, awakening a 100-year-old building, right? Every year, every day you open a Pandora box, guess what? Pandora survives and lives behind the wall. But I think the greatest opportunity is that I have the ability and blessing to give space for artists, right? My team is built of artists. I have, a classically trained opera singer and pianist on the team that are directing my programming, right? So when they get their free time, they go onto one of the grand pianos and they play, and that's their space to curate the art, right? So that's the gift, right? That keeps you driving like, okay, listen, it was a tough day, but we got this challenge, we got this funding, we were heard by this politician or stakeholder, for them to be really heard, right? And as long as we keep giving access to the creators and the artists and the creative placemakers, that's the payment, that's the gratitude, that's the motivation.
Talia Young, you truly are one of the arts engines who is powering human creativity in our world. Thank you so much for everything you do, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to speaking to you again.